I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
The Indiana Fever versus the Las Vegas Aces isn't a basketball series. It's a heist playing out on national television. Indiana stunned everyone by stealing Game 1 in Vegas, but from that moment forward, the script changed. The Aces didn't simply fight back with talent or adjustments. They had the refs in their corner, giving them whistles so lopsided the game barely resembled competition. Stephanie White wasn't about to stay quiet. In one of the most emotional post-game interviews of her career, she demanded nothing less than a league-wide investigation into the state of WNBA officiating. Fans inside Gainbridge saw it, social media saw it, and the box score confirmed it. The Aces weren't beating Indiana. They were being gifted wins. The tragedy? Those phantom whistles overshadowed the grit, resilience, and pure heart the Fever brought to the floor every night. Let us know down in the comments below if you think the WNBA will clean up this mess.
Disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control.
Now, let's be clear. This wasn't Indiana's first time playing against two opponents, the team in front of them and the officials holding whistles. From the very beginning, it was obvious where the favoritism tilted. Game 1 laid the blueprint. Las Vegas couldn't generate rhythm offensively, so they leaned on free throws to climb back. Meanwhile, Indiana's physical defense, their ability to body up cleanly, magically transformed into foul trouble whenever it suited the referees. The Aces were allowed to throw elbows. The Fever got tagged for breathing too close. That double standard wasn't subtle. It was screaming at anyone who paid attention.
Steph, why don't you think you were able to find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
By Game 2, it was undeniable. The whistles didn't just appear, they dictated the pace, pulling Indiana out of rhythm again and again. By Game 3, the bias had evolved into a wall the Fever couldn't scale. The moment that symbolized it best came in the third quarter. Aaliyah Boston, Indiana's anchor, challenged a foul call on Jackie Young. Stephanie White instantly motioned for a review, the bench was ready, and fans braced themselves. The officials? They acted like nothing happened. They flat out refused to acknowledge the request. Seconds later, Chelsea Gray nailed a three, flipping momentum on its head.
Asia Wilson is 1 for 12 as a foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul called.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Gray in the corner. Connects!
What had been a hard-earned Indiana lead was ripped away, not by Vegas's execution, but by a call the refs wouldn't even let be reviewed. The Gainbridge crowd erupted in disbelief, their cheers turning into boos and fury. Clips of the sequence spread online within minutes, with fans and analysts pointing to that exact moment as proof of rigging. Those breakdowns showed more than just one missed review. They revealed a pattern of flops, elbows, and cheap shots by the Aces that were magically invisible to officials.
2-minute recap from last night. So Asia Wilson pushes Howard in the back. Howard pushes her in the back. It's a foul on Howard. Look at this. Aaliyah Boston gets totally fouled by Nalissa Smith. Like, it's obvious, but no call. And then Asia Wilson gets the call for not half as much. And then Nalissa Smith gets the call for not even getting touched. Here's a replay just to prove it to you. Yep, didn't get touched.
That's when this stopped feeling like oversight and started looking like an agenda. Watch the tape. Wilson bulldozed through Boston with shoulders lowered like a fullback, and play just went on. Indiana defenders were tossed to the ground, but silence. Meanwhile, if a Fever player so much as brushed a jersey, the whistle blew like they'd committed armed robbery. It wasn't about Vegas outclassing Indiana with skill. It was about refs handing them lifelines until the scoreboard tilted.
Followed up by Lexi Hull getting called for the foul.
I thought it was egregious, honestly. I mean, I thought it was obvious. I felt like AB got one, had one going to the rim. They're in rotation. And then Lexi's, I felt like equally, we talk about, coming into the path, and it was an offensive player veering into the defensive player's path.
But here's where Indiana proved different. Lesser teams would have broken. Most groups would have dropped their heads, muttered about the unfairness, and folded. Not the Fever, and the symbol of that defiance was none other than Lexi Hull. Think about it. How often do you see a player who probably shouldn't even be on the floor nearly flip the script of an entire playoff game? That's exactly what Hull did the last few games. Coming off a painful back injury from Game 1, she was listed as questionable every game. Her warm-ups looked stiff, her movements uncertain, and it seemed like she'd only play a few minutes as a placeholder. But Hull didn't just log minutes. She turned the night into her personal showcase of resilience, the kind fans will talk about long after this series ends.
Lexi, you have drawn the most offensive foul in the W this year, including the playoff. How are you able to do that?
I'm just trying to defend as hard as I can, and there's only certain screens you're allowed to set, so just trying to trail them, and that's all I can really say.
16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. And she did it all while shooting 6 of 10 from the floor, draining 3 massive triples. Each one felt like oxygen, reviving Indiana whenever Vegas tried to pull ahead. Those threes weren't just numbers. They tied her with a Fever playoff record across 2 games, giving her 8 total, a feat no one expected from a player battling through back pain. And her 16 points? A career playoff high, delivered in the middle of chaos.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Cole will fire. And hit from 3. His last 2 positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up by Hull. And a jump ball between Smith and Hull.
What made her performance remarkable wasn't just the stats. It was the manner in which she got them. Every possession was a war. Loose balls turned into collisions, rebounds into wrestling matches, and yet Hull never backed down. Cameras caught her grimacing in pain more than once, but that never stopped her from boxing out players bigger and healthier than her. She dove on the floor for loose balls, sacrificed her body on rebounds, and still had the presence of mind to knock down threes on the other end. Each play she made wasn't just worth points. It injected life into the Fever every time officiating tried to bleed them dry.
On the left side of the floor, just a clear out, letting Jackie Young go to work.
Jackie Young with 17 points. Boston to the corner. Hull, catch, fire, and hit. Correct call. Evans dishes. Ray whips a pass inside. What a denial from Lexi Hull.
The Hull able to save the play.
12-point game, a little under 2.5 to go. Hull hits Indiana's first field goal of the quarter.
And that's exactly why fans rallied to her. Gainbridge isn't blind. They knew what they were witnessing. A warrior playing through pain because her team needed her. Every rebound she pulled, every shot she drilled, brought the crowd back into it, even when whistles tried to snuff out the energy. Hull's effort was the beating heart of Indiana's resistance.
Eddie back to Hull, wide open 3 is good.
The floor that she wants, doesn't it?
It does. Mitchell, connect. Here's Mitchell. Mitchell, one more. You bet.
But that's what makes the night sting even more. On the same night Lexi Hull delivered the best playoff performance of her career, the conversation wasn't about her. It wasn't about her 16 points or her gutsy 10 boards. It was about referees tilting the game. The spotlight that should have celebrated her courage was stolen by controversy. And maybe that's the perfect metaphor for the Fever themselves. Underdogs, underestimated, and constantly shoved aside, yet still standing tall. So let's put this in perspective. On one side, you had Hull giving everything, dragging her body through pain for the sake of her teammates. On the other, you had Wilson, the supposed MVP of the league, largely absent when it mattered most, propped up only by whistles that gave her chances Indiana never got. That contrast tells the whole story. One team earning it with sweat and sacrifice, the other being carried on the shoulders of officials who seemed more interested in protecting the Aces brand than letting the Fever's fight shine.
Offensive foul, practically a football check, and the Aces score. So now the Aces cut it to 2, and then A'ja Wilson sets an illegal screen, and they tied things up. And then Lexi Hall gets called for a foul for doing nothing when they just had 2 illegal screens they didn't call. All right, so this is fair. Same thing happens on the other side, but they don't call a foul for Kelsey Mitchell. So Leah Boston gets called for this foul for getting her arm grabbed, but Stephanie White can't challenge. They won't let her. That's the second time this game they didn't let her have her challenge. And then A'ja Wilson starts acting like a big baby.
Picture this, the league's most decorated player, the so-called MVP, going nearly 3 quarters without a single basket. That was Wilson in Game 3. She opened the night with a confident 3-pointer that looked like it might set the tone for dominance. Instead, it turned into her lone highlight for the first half. By the break, she was 1 for 11, a shooting line that would embarrass even a rookie on a 10-day contract. She eventually limped to 6 makes on 20 attempts, totaling just 13 points on 20 shots. Let's be blunt, that's dreadful. Not just below her standards, dreadful, but unacceptable for any WNBA starter, let alone the reigning MVP. Instead of asserting herself inside, throwing her weight around, and setting the tone like she's been celebrated for, Wilson floated outward, forcing contested fadeaways and mid-range prayers, visibly rattled by Aaliyah Boston's relentless defense.
And then here we go. She gets a foul call with a 3-point game for, I don't know why they called that foul, but it's the 3rd quarter and they want them to win. So here we go. Ace is up by 3. They call another foul for A'ja Wilson that isn't a foul. All right, so then they call another foul on the Fever that isn't a foul. And then to end the game after it's out of control because the Fever had a 6-point lead, but they kept calling fouls, another foul for A'ja Wilson that's not a foul. Ball don't lie, A'ja missed 11 shots in a row during this game.
Vegas didn't need her to play like an MVP, and that's the part that enrages fans the most. Even as Wilson bricked her way through 3 quarters, the Aces still walked away with the win. Not because of her, but because everything else tilted in their favor. Jackie Young put on the kind of performance that carried them across the finish line, dropping 25 points and silencing Fever rallies with dagger jumpers. Chelsea Gray chipped in a calm and steady 15, bailing the offense out whenever it stalled. And Nalissa Smith, who's had stretches of inconsistency this season, came up with key plays that happened to land right when Vegas needed them most. So while Wilson clanked shot after shot, the combined efforts of her teammates and the steady hand of the refs stitched together enough of a cushion to keep the scoreboard tilted their way. What makes all of this sting even more is how the media spun it. Wilson's box score was screaming inefficiency, yet plenty of outlets dressed it up with platitudes about her all-around impact. A rebound here, a block there, a couple of assists. Others pivoted quickly to praising the Aces' depth. What got lost in translation? The reason Wilson struggled in the first place. Aaliyah Boston. Possession after possession, Boston walled off the paint, denied space, and forced Wilson into uncomfortable, low-percentage looks. When a league MVP shoots 30% on 20 attempts, that's not just an off night. That's elite defensive execution by Boston. That's a star being neutralized, plain and simple. But instead of giving Boston the credit she earned, the narrative bent over backward to protect Wilson's reputation.
2 as well.
Here's Hull. Working behind Boston. Boston was open. Great dig, and Boston lays it in.
Even then, Wilson still managed to leave her mark, just not in ways that deserve respect. Watch closely and you'll see it. Elbows thrown under the basket, undercuts during box outs, arms swinging dangerously into Indiana players, and almost none of it punished. Somehow, she's still portrayed as a victim. Becky Hammon even had the audacity to complain post-game that Wilson only shot one free throw in 38 minutes. The irony? Vegas has been living at the foul line this entire series. When you're already swimming in freebies, crying about not getting more whistles isn't just laughable, it's insulting. The truth is simple. Indiana did their job. They bottled up A'ja Wilson. They executed the defensive game plan perfectly, with Boston leading the charge. And yet, the Fever still lost because the officiating made sure Vegas never truly paid the price for Wilson's brickfest. That's why this Aces win feels hollow. This wasn't a superstar dragging her team to victory. This was a team bailed out by whistles and secondary scores while their star was kept in check. Call it what it is, not dominance, but a protected escape.
I thought she got hit a lot tonight. To shoot one free throw in 38 minutes. I know they told me not to say anything, but I can't.
It wasn't just the losses that left a sour taste. It was the officiating circus that stole the spotlight. And that's why Stephanie White finally snapped. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't toe the company line. In her post-game interview, she delivered what every player, every fan, and every analyst has been screaming for months. The WNBA needs a full-scale investigation into refereeing. Not a memo. Not a quiet apology behind closed doors. A real public reckoning.
I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
Her exact frustration was written all over her face. White has been through battles as a player. She's dealt with tough losses as a coach. But this was different. This wasn't basketball. This was her team, her players. Lexi Hull putting her body on the line, Aaliyah Boston fighting through triple teams, Kelsey Mitchell battling constant pressure, getting robbed of the fair stage they earned. She called it out directly. Officiating isn't just inconsistent, it's compromising the integrity of the game. And she's right. Think about it. How many times have we seen Caitlin Clark hammered the last 2 seasons with no whistle, only to watch the exact same contact rewarded on the other end? How many times has Aaliyah Boston fought tooth and nail for position, only to get called for phantom fouls? How often do players like Hull or Mitchell get punished for hustling, while opponents flop their way to free points? This series has been the ugly culmination of a problem that's been brewing all season.
Here's Boston, back to Hull. Sets herself up. Mitchell is free, laying it in. Been a while since Mitchell has gotten a shot attempt. Mitchell will get one here. It's hit.
White demanding accountability is bigger than just the Fever. It's about protecting the future of the league itself. Because here's the truth. Without Caitlin Clark, without the Fever, without this surge of new fans filling arenas and smashing TV ratings, the WNBA doesn't have this spotlight. And yet, instead of protecting that growth, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is sitting silent while refs tilt games and hand the defending champs lifelines they didn't earn. Fans know it. Social media knows it. Analysts know it. The only ones pretending otherwise are sitting in the league office, hoping the noise dies down. But thanks to Stephanie White, it won't. Her call for an investigation isn't just frustration. It's the first real demand for accountability from someone inside the machine. And if Engelbert ignores it, then the message to fans is clear. The league doesn't care about fairness. It only cares about protecting its chosen teams. So here's the bottom line. White's demand has already put the spotlight back where it belongs, on the corrupt officiating that's dragging this league down. And if there's any justice left in basketball, her words will be the spark that forces the WNBA to finally fix its dirtiest secret. Let us know down in the comments below if you think the WNBA will clean up this mess. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.